Hello, folks. This is Steve AB4L. Locally, a well-known furniture manufacturer closed on Monday, just suddenly. And I've been doing research and showing you what I've found. Well, right now, I decided to just do Klausner Financials because their announcement letter said that their single lender is no longer going to give them any money. Now, that has a lot of implications. So instead of following something like what do they make, how many people do they have, I put Klausner Financials. And the search engine has come up with a number of things. Klausner's annual revenue is 6.1 million. Zippia's data science team found, now I'm not promoting anything nor am I recommending anything. If you hear a brand name, it's just, I want to know where it came from. Their annual revenues is in the range of 100 to 500 million. They're in the range of 500 to 1,000 employees. So I'm going down, and it says Klausner's revenue is 488.8 million. This is Zoom info. So they're all, and the total has about 1,800 employees, but we know that they're not all here. So then I saw these two articles in Furniture Today. The rise and fall of a $500 million company. So we're agreed that it's about $500 million gross revenue. We don't know about the profitability per year. The news that a 60-year-old Klausner Home Furnishing is out of business shook the industry this week, leaving retailers. But look at the sub thing that the Klausner's still a force after 50 years. Klausner's still a force after 50 years. April 2013, 10 years ago. In the final months of John F. Kennedy's presidency, which would be up until when he was assassinated, Stuart Love rented an old storefront building here in Asheboro and began making upholstered sofas. There's a business down at the next light that in the time that I've lived here, I've seen two different home reupholstering companies be in there for a while. And I figure what it was is they're always looking for a place where the rent is cheaper and they're a small enough shop that they can just move. So this guy started making upholstered sofas. But that wasn't 2013. There wasn't anything particularly noteworthy about his decision in 1963. That's where we get the 50 years, up to 2013. When many entrepreneurs were trying their hand at furniture manufacturing. I told you, I met a guy from up north that lives here now that used to own a furniture manufacturing plant in Ramseur, 4 miles down the road. Then they talk about what his business model was. And something about the way he was doing business caught the attention of German furniture magnate Hans Klausner. Now we understand where the name came from and the spelling, who who wound up buying the company from Love in 1979 and renamed it. But they kept the local guys, but the one that they continue with, Davis, retired in 2010. Klausner Furniture grew rapidly through acquisitions of companies such as Upholstery Producer. See, you remember in my visit, I took you to right next door to one of the plants, and I said, they make the stuffings for the cushions, and they're right next door to the Klausner plant, one of the Klausner plants. Upholstery Producer, that's what you put on the furniture. Stylecraft and Case Goods Resource Detail, whatever. Oh, that's what you package them in. By capturing considerable floor space at many of the biggest furniture retailers in the business. So they were both build the company in terms of its capacity and also aggressively go after marketing outlets. And then they went upscale. Oh, Enso Bedding brand a year later in 2000, that would be 2010, that main plant we went to, the building next to it is Enso Bedding. But in 2013, Klausner celebrates his 50th anniversary with another CEO. And then he talks about what was going on. And then it says, who teamed with financial officer David and several other managers. Oh, wait a minute now. Wittenberg, the CEO, who teamed with Chief Financial Officer Dave Bryant and several other managers to buy the company from Klausner, Hans himself, in the spring of 2011, saying it is beginning another era as it strives to be the leading solutions provider in the home furnishing industry. So the guy that from far off in Germany that bought them and helped them out, probably that guy was getting ready to retire. They knew it. They said, hey, let's give you a present. Why don't you let us buy you out? We'll keep your name. Oh, okay. There was probably a tax advantage. I'm guessing. I'm an idiot running my mouth. So the last 3 years, once again, we have new ownership, adapting to ever-changing industry dynamics. And so at that time, today, the estimated $500 million in sales annually. And they're talking about Wittenberg. The ownership group runs and operates the company from top to bottom every day. So it's all the guys that got together to buy out are just a small group and they're local. The ownership group runs and operates the company from top to bottom every day. Our interests are clearly aligned. It's our business. Our current structure gives us optimum flexibility. No private investors. You'll see you see how this is going to come in. No private investors and a minimal debt to asset ratio. So they were interviewing, and this article was written in 2013, and that was the second slug of the return for Klausner Financials. But let's look at this article, which was the main one. When I put in Klausner Financials, the rise and fall of a $500 million company. A look at Klausner's shutdown. Sheila Long O'Mara, executive editor, Furniture Today, August 8th. It's the 10th right now at 3 a.m. August 8th, 2023. So now we're going to leap forward 10 years. And this is going to be an analysis or something by somebody who follows the industry. The news that 60-year-old Klausner Home Furnishing is out of business shook the industry this week, so they are a main force, leaving retailers scrambling for new resources where they're going to get more furniture to sell, and wondering how a company that had sales in excess of $500 million at one time could falter. Well, that's what everybody's wondering. So then they start to recant the history. And we're not too interested in that because we kind of went over that from an article 10 years ago. And then they talk about Davis joining in 270 and retiring 40 years later as the president and CEO. And then it says in 79, Love sold Stewart Furniture to, and that's when Klausner name came in. And then Klausner built them up further to include other things called case goods. I don't know what that is. The Dick Idle collection, blah, 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 blah. And under Davis's Klausner Furniture grew quickly through acquisitions of companies, such as upholstery producer Stylecraft. That's a repeat. I mentioned that. And it went into new kinds of furniture that it's offering. And then they got this guy Wittenberg that they were interviewing in that other one 10 years ago. And the new ownership also moved the company away from its Asheville-based showroom, where the company had traditionally shown new products during the High Point Market. High Point Market's 30 miles north of here. So maybe the idea, so they have a showroom on a 90,000, now we know the size of that building I show you in the previous episode that you saw. It's a 90,000 square foot showroom. That's pretty big. That's like going to the big box store. Not small. Not a corner bodega. Located in the heart of the new market district of 101 North Hamilton Street. Remember the website with 404? They've taken it down in less than a day. The company once again entered a new category with its introduction of outdoor furniture and later exited the category at the height of the pandemic in 2021. So recently I did a video about something to do with glasses and COVID era work from home, Zoom type of video conferencing, and how Verizon and Google got into something that was over their head, and they're closing it down right now after less than 2 years because they didn't make it. Webcams beat them out because they're cheap. In a parallel kind of thing, think about, I said that because, what does this paragraph say? Pardon me. The company once again entered a new category with its introduction in 2014 of outdoor furniture and later exited the category at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic in 2021. It already was declining. People weren't buying it. And with the big shutdown of everything, it must have become a big money loser, and they got out as fast as they could. They just dropped the line. It was theirs to begin with. I'm reading between the lines. Brainstorming, wandering around different things, but putting it all together. Going from nebulous big pictures to what might the specific scenarios be. And then they talk about Klausner and the country music and whatever. 2017. Oh, here's the important thing. It's 2023 today. 2017, 6 years ago. 6 years ago. 6 years ago, private investment firm Monomoy Capital Partners You see, a whole bunch of people and companies got real rich and they got a lot of extra money and they don't know what to do. So they form what's called an acquisition company. We got a lot of money. We need to find somebody who needs money, and we're going to get into new businesses and show them how to make a profit. Or we build them up enough that we can sell them at a profit, like flipping old homes. Right? You buy a home that was made in 1910, redo the inside, make it look great. It's in downtown in the capital city of the state, and we bought it for. It's falling down. We buy it for $50,000, and we fix it up and sell it for $1 million, and it only costs us $500,000 to fix it up. Flipping. That's what they're talking about here, potentially. And it means Klausner must have been in some kind of trouble. Oh, they just got out of a failed product line. Reading between the lines. I'm an idiot running my mouth. I have no prior knowledge. I have no idea what I'm talking about. In 2017, private investment firm Monomoy Capital Partners acquired Klausner. At the time of the announcement, the private equity group Wikipedia, private equity firm. Let's see if I'm bullshitting or I know what I'm talking about. A private equity firm is an investment management company that provides financial backing and makes investments in the private equity of startup or operating companies. Klausner. Klausner's not a startup. It's an operating company. Through a variety of loosely affiliated investment strategies, including leveraged buyout, venture capital, and growth capital, often described as a financial sponsor. This is the first time I'm reading this. Each firm will raise funds that will be invested in accordance with one or more specific strategies. At the time of the announcement, the private equity group, this company, that we went to their website, said the current management team will remain in place and maintain minority equity status. That means they own less than 50% of the stock, and they can be overruled by these people at any time. At the time, the company employed more than 1,800. As of yesterday, the company's total employment was 884. In 2017, the number of people they had working for them was twice the number. Now, how would you reduce headcount, or why? I'm guessing. Automation. Automation. You need fewer people. Or you've been letting people go because you don't have profitability. Why would you go to a private equity company? What I read in another place was that the way the private equity came in is that the Clausen properties, the factories, the parking lots, all of that, they bought that. The private equity group bought that. And then they rented it back to the management team, who have minority ownership status. Got it? The factories were sold. This is important. Physically, the whole thing was sold to people somewhere else, but they let the current management continue as minority stakeholders. And one of the things about buying the property, the factories, the machines, the inventory, the whole thing, is that the current people operating it pay a monthly rent to use it. Did you understand that? The management team and the whatever are using property owned by someone else to make things. They don't own the physical plant. They're renting it. That's really different than being the owners. What was going on? 2 years after this private equity investment maneuver, Wittenberg transit the CEO to a strategic advisory role in the company's board of directors, and Terry McNew, who just retired a couple of years ago, came in as a CEO, but McNew left the position last July. He, quote, retired. And they brought in this guy, and I put up a video about him. And I told you there was hints that there were efficiency problems here locally, and that he was hands-on all the way down to the production floor to get things right in the rented factory. I'm saying rented factory because that's what it was. So the private equity firm said, this guy is coming in. It wasn't, so if you remember, he was doing other things in other companies somewhere else, and they brought him to Asheboro. We need some real brains, somebody who knows how to make shipshape, straighten it out. That's why they brought in Sabulski, to straighten it out. What does that mean? That means that the team that was in there still couldn't make it work right. They're losing money. That's what it means. They might have popular products, but I'm going to tell you something. I know for a fact that in the year before IBM sold the IBM PC company, IBM was one of the first manufacturers of PCs. That's how they're called, PCs. And everything else is a clone. I can tell you that at the time they sold it to Lenovo, this was news. Every machine every PC computer that IBM shipped, they were losing $500 each machine. That's why they got rid of it, closed the division, and sold it to Lenovo, who was better at doing it at a profit. I'm giving you an example I was personally involved in. I've told you in the past I was a contractor in the Raleigh area. I used to work in RTP. I used to work as a contractor at the IBM PC company. I didn't work for IBM. I didn't work for the PC company. I worked for a consulting firm that supplied contractors. There was one IBMer in the room, and the other 20 people were people like me, contractors, which meant, as they did, they can just walk in and say, we don't need you anymore, and you're gone. Can't do that to a regular employee unless you're going to close the business. Got it? I'm explaining it. So they brought in Cybulski because something was going terribly wrong. The private equity company forced it down their throat, whether they like it or not, because they own the majority shares. What's the whole thing about Meta? Who has the final decision no matter what? The guy that owns the majority of the stocks. You know his name. He's never let go of being the majority stock owner. It doesn't matter what other people think in the company. He has the final word. Period. If you don't like it, leave. I'm the boss, and I own more than 50%. I'm not talking about this company. I'm talking about Facebook and Meta. Go look it up. So when McNew left, the private equity brought in this guy for the job in August after serving first as the company's chief financial officer. Right. And later as interim zone. So this now has brought us up to the thing that I put up a few hours earlier, where they got up to this person. So the person that's writing this is giving us a financial picture of what's been going on, and that between the lines is, as big as it is, it's losing money hand over fist, and now we know the answer. I'm just going to put in Klausner letter.
Who wants to know who knew?
We don't want that. Here it is. As a result of challenging and unexpected business circumstances impacting our operations, Klausner Furniture Industries and its direct and indirect subsidiaries must unexpectedly wind down the operations. The other letter was said more. They said their lending source wouldn't, excuse me, hang on. The company's lending source, I'm reading. You wander around, but you brainstorm it. Right there. The company's lending source. That's the lending source. There isn't another one. It's them. Let's see what their website looks like. Aerospace and defense, automotive, building products, chemicals, commercial vehicle, consumer products, power sports, packaging, infrastructure and utilities, industrials. We seek companies in sectors where our operational acumen, we're going to show you how to make money because we know you're losing money. Wake up, dummies. We want to acquire you. We'll make you super again. Can make a real impact. We seek companies in sectors where our operational acumen, they sent Cybulski in there to straighten it out. That's what they mean by operational acumen. We have access to people that we think are geniuses in terms of hands-on. You're going to have to accept that we're putting that person in charge. Cybulski. So did Cybulski succeed? First as the chief financial officer, and then as the actual CEO? It's right here. The company's lending source, there's only one, there's no banks involved, has unexpectedly refused to continue to fund, make up the losses. Make up the losses. The company's operations. This outcome was not reasonably foreseeable. Now, wording like that might say, this really caught us by surprise because we thought we were recovering and suddenly, for some reason, they're deep sixing us. No more money. So I want to give Klausner the benefit of the doubt and Kowalski. Are these people in trouble? Are they in trouble? Could be. Now, I looked at this before. This is their investments page. Here are names of companies that they have bought the equity in. Artesian, Astroshapes, Edsel Manufacturing, Cass Creek, Japs Olson, Jason, Kaufman Engineering, Liberty Safe, Motorsport Aftermarket Group, Shaw Development. Wait a minute, let's just try that. Motorsport Aftermarket is one of the largest manufacturers and distributors of branded aftermarket products for the power sports industry in North America. Okay, sounds like just like them owning Klausner. I just picked one, but you know something? I don't see Klausner on this list. And let's click on all, because they have active, realized, and case studies. Let's go to all. There's new names here. Amtex, Anchor Hawking. Now it's Artesian. So I'm going down. It's alphabetical. I'm going down. Katun, Kaufman Engineering. That's not Klausner. Kurz Cash. And then it becomes L's. They're not even listing them. They're not even listing them. That means they've sold the papers somewhere else. That's a guess. That's a guess. They're no longer listing them. That means Klausner is dead as far as that bet. See, when they buy into these things, they're betting. They can turn it around, make money, and then sell the asset for even more profit. That's what they said they can do. We have the acumen, the talent to do it. We got people that can do it. Cybulski. All right? Where's that letter? This outcome was not reasonably foreseeable. That either means that it surprised them or they're positioning themselves legally. I don't know. But due to these unexpected circumstances, no more cash flow, and that means no payroll money. You can't have people working and not pay them. That's why they closed the plants suddenly. They can't meet the payroll because the position they're in is the private equity company won't give them the next 2 weeks of wages suddenly. I'm reading between the lines. I'm brainstorming it. As a result, but due to these unexpected circumstances, the company can no longer sustain operations. You can't have people coming to work if you're not going to pay them. It's illegal. As a result, the company has made the difficult decision to cease operations and is providing as much notice as possible. Now, the only question that comes to my mind is, since they're renting the properties, I read in another place that what it was is that private equity company bought all the properties and are renting them back to the people that are minority stakeholders that they're allowing to manage the company, except a couple of years ago they brought in their guy because it wasn't working out. So now we know more. But remember, everything I say is speculation. I'm gathering it from what's online. I'm not maligning anybody. In some cases, I'm saying I can think of more than one scenario, depending on which side you want or what would the actual facts are. But we know that from the wording here that private equity company cut them off. You're gone. The next thing I'll be looking for are the bankruptcy notices, the court filings, the liquidation sales, whatever it is. Or what do you think could happen? The private equity company could bring in a whole new team, not just one guy. Cybulski apparently was their single guy. Maybe I made a different video. There's a guy in Ramseur with a Greek name. He's maybe hiring some of them. He's opening a new thing that he acquired, needs workers in Staley, a couple miles up the road. Maybe they'll get him to take over. Who knows? Steve AB4 my voice is giving out. They're the actual owners. They're the ones that are de facto shutting it down. They put the local people in a position where there was no choice. You can't have people work if you can't pay them. Finished. Steve AB4 is some kind of divorce, saying see you in 73.